all of them. It's going to be a couple.
Having an eye examination is a very involved process, and it requires quite a number of different tests and assessments. Hello, how are you, Lewis? How's school been going? There are 3 people that are involved in the care of a child with an eye problem, and they would include an ophthalmologist who is a trained medical surgeon. Then you have an orthoptist who would have a science degree and additional qualifications, training in the management and diagnosis of eye movement problems. Optometrists predominantly will see children and adults whose only eye problem is that they need to wear glasses. And children with ushers, for example, would have other problems aside from potentially needing to wear glasses. We work together in that an orthoptist works with an ophthalmologist in the clinic. We might come up with a particular glasses prescription, and then you can take that prescription to the optometrist, and the optometrist can organise for those glasses to be made up.
Chat about how well you did on those tests.
When I first meet someone who has Usher syndrome, we take a baseline examination of all these parameters. And that's really helpful to use in a follow-up assessment to see how things are changing.
Elephant, good. Moon.
The type of test and assessment that we're going to do will vary as the child gets older and is able to do more difficult and more complex examinations. The orthoptist, she'll do a variety of vision tests and eye movement examinations to make sure that your child's eyes are not only seeing well but working well together. This patch on your eye. And sometimes that's one of our biggest battles, is the child allowing us to cover each eye separately. I mean, in an older child, you can just convince them to pop a patch on their face, but those, young sort of 1, 2, 3-year-olds can be a little bit feisty. But playing a game of peekaboo at home and letting the parent cover their eye, when they come into the clinic for the eye examination, they're used to that sort of invasiveness on their face, and they're more likely to let you do that sort of thing.
I'm going to put a patch on your eye like we talked about.
Doing a Goldman visual field is a really important part of an assessment in a child with a diagnosis of Usher, because it maps their visual field over time as the retinitis pigmentosa develops more, progresses more. Their visual field will narrow. And that's an important part of their eye assessment. It contributes to understanding what we might need to do to make that child safer in the classroom or in the playground if their visual field is reducing. Boy, can you still see it?
Yeah.
All the way to the middle. Kids are incredibly resilient and they can mask vision problems. A child that's used to having poor vision or a poor visual field actually copes incredibly well when it's a very long, slow decline. So being able to map it formally is really important. So I'm going to get you to put your head back.
Not too far back.
After we've done all of those preliminary assessments, then we need to put the eye drops in. Putting eye drops is as challenging for us as the orthoptist as it is for the child. They don't like having them, we don't like doing them. I find just telling them to close their eyes gently, and that I'm going to pop the drops in the corner of their eyes, and then I ask them what colour their eyes are and they open their eyes and show me. I talk about it being a tickle rather than stinging, or that it just feels wet, and then it takes time for those drops to work. It can usually take around 20 minutes for the pupils to fully dilate, and then you've got the assessment with the ophthalmologist. So you do really need to allow a good hour and a half. Once the drops start to take effect, it will blur their vision, and the older child will start to articulate that.
After pupils have dilated from the drops, we're able to very carefully look into the back of the eyes, do some photographic tests to look at how the retina is appearing and working. One of the main tests is an OCT, which is a scan of the different layers of the retina. Typically in Usher syndrome, even in early stages, has a little bit of thinning of the retina. The earliest symptoms for many people are poor vision in dim light or poor vision at night time. The other test we like to do is a wide field photograph or a retinal photograph to look at the degree of any pigmentation in the retina, and that test helps us to gauge the level of change, the severity of the disease.
Going as early as you possibly can is an important part of the process of getting reliable results to the tests. They get used to you, the practitioner gets used to them, you get to know them, and you can start working with them to introduce all the different instrumentation that we need to follow that child over time.
Regular, repeated, thorough assessments is really helpful to be able to put some numbers around the speed of change. By doing an annual assessment, we can find out the degree of severity and how we can best support that person in their schooling and in their education, all the day-to-day activities that they really want to do and thrive at.